Suicide bombings, a lethal tactic that left dramatic images like these burned into the collective consciousness of a nation.
The effect of suicide bombings is not only physical one, because as I told you before, it creates the most lethal results of all other attacks, but it also has a very cognitive imprint because of the horror of the concept of human beings that are willing to kill themselves while killing others, not only killing others.
The lethalness is reflected by the numbers. Palestinian suicide attacks caused more than 50% of the overall Israeli casualties in the Second Intifada. More than 600 deaths and nearly 800 wounded between 2000 and 2005. That's while numbering less than 0.5% of the overall terrorist incidents. Dr. Yoram Schweizer defined contemporary suicide attacks as a politically motivated violent attack perpetrated by a self-aware individual who actively and purposely causes his own death through blowing himself up along with his chosen target.
So you have a weapon which proven to be very lethal, just remembering the attacks in Dizengoff Center, in Dizengoff Street, in Jerusalem, in other places, which took a high toll from the Israeli public and basically put a stick in the wagon of the peace process as they saw it.
It was the suddenness of the attacks which were so effective. 1 minute, a crowd of people in a street, in a restaurant, on a bus. Then an explosion and sheer horror and death. Israelis did not know when or where the bombers would strike, only that they would. The effectiveness also came from the flexibility of the tactic.
Once the suicide attacker is being sent, say, to explode himself within a coffee house, and he's getting to the coffee house and he finds there that there is only one couple drinking coffee, he is going to say, I'm not going to waste my life on two people, but I saw on the other end of the street another restaurant which is full with people. Then he's changing his own mission and conducting the attack in a most effective manner.
The attackers weren't just motivated by the desire to kill. There were other reasons as well, such as being told they would be rewarded by entry into paradise. There also were earthly rewards.
As an outcome of the fact that you conducted the attack. When you know that your status and the status of the family after your death will be raised among your own society, which are blessing and actually praising this type of an attack, this is a very beneficial a process.
But as the Intifada waned, so too did the suicide attacks. Scholars attribute this both to domestic pressure.
And as the leaders of the Palestinian Islamic Jihad and Hamas told me in prisons and interviews that I did with them, they were basically, most of them were arrested and put in jail by Arafat because of the pressure of the Israelis and the international community.
And to Israel's response.
During the period of defense, Israel reoccupied the territories that has been given to Yasser Arafat during the Oslo Accords. And on those territories that was controlled until that moment only by Arafat forces was serving as breathing platform for those suicide attackers. And once Israel reoccupied that, they couldn't plan, prepare, initiate those attacks as freely as they could before.
Jerusalem's decision to build a security barrier along the length of the West Bank drastically limited points of entry for Palestinians into Israel. It's also credited with slowing, if not stopping, the suicide bombings. But while the bombings themselves died down, the memory of the horror they wrought lives on. Emily Rose, I-24 News.